The most important meal of the day, second breakfast.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another Second Breakfast podcast. I'm Andy Roth alongside Phil Duvall. Say hi, Phil.
Hi, Phil.
Well done, Gracie.
It's been a while.
It's true. It's true. No, you got to bring it back.
That classic.
If it's good enough for George Burns and Gracie Allen, it's good enough for us.
It's true.
You know?
I remember when he died, and Norm Macdonald was doing Weekend Update, and he's like, George Burns died this week at the age of 100 years old. Lesson to kids: smoking kills.
Awesome.
One of my all-time favorites.
Yeah, that's really good.
Anyways.
So yeah, welcome back to another week of Second Breakfast Podcast. We're a little late. Thank you all for your patience.
I'm not going to thank you for your patience. I have received so many worried emails and texts saying, why hasn't Tuesday's podcast gone up yet? And I got to tell you people, calm down. Calm down. Andy and I have this under control. Golly.
Here's what I have to say about that, and this one goes out to all my personal friends. You guys are better than Phil's personal friends.
Wait, why?
Because they didn't bug me.
Oh, maybe they just don't care about you.
I'll accept that.
Okay, fair enough. As long as we're willing to accept that.
Yeah, it's one or the other, right? As long as we've narrowed it down, I'm fine.
Potato, potato.
Right? I'm not concerned with finding the answer. I just need to know that there's an answer out there. You know
I
what
agree. I definitely agree with that.
Yeah.
That's deep. You just took us to an existential level that I was never prepared for, and I love it.
Well, I mean, every once in a while, I will wander into an existential level.
There you go. I love it. Good for you.
Thanks.
Well done.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. So we start here on we start our week as per usual, looking back at the week we just had and telling you what movies we've seen.
Yes.
So, would you like to go first, Phil? Or would you like me to go first?
Andy, why don't you go first?
Phil, I will.
Okay.
Thank you. I watched 5 movies this week.
Interesting.
God, I hope you beat me. I started out with The Hunger Games. Hunger Games.
You've seen that before, yes?
Yes, nary a new movie this week. Not one. I wanted to get out to see Prisoners, didn't. Wanted to get out to see.
You were like, I need to set aside 2.5 hours of my life to be completely harrowing and miserable.
Yes. And
I don't have that? Oh, that's crazy. Oh.
I wanted to make it out to see Prisoners, Thanks for Sharing, and In a World. All of them are in Durham right now. I saw none of them. I'm going to try and rectify that this weekend. Don't know if I'm gonna.
Don't know if you will, Andy.
Yeah, we don't know. We might not have time. You know. So yeah.
Never know what'll happen.
Yeah, that's right. Hunger Games. City Slickers.
Good for you.
Thanks, man. I feel pretty good about it.
Yes, it's been a while for you on this one.
It has.
I watched it earlier this year, and it was a joy to behold.
Oh, so choice. If you have the means, I highly recommend picking one up.
Yes.
The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring, the extended edition.
What made you put that on?
One moment.
Okay.
4th movie, The Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers, extended edition. The fifth and final movie.
Go ahead.
Clue. I'll get to it.
Oh,
I'll
wow.
get to it. I had to go in there, didn't I? Yeah.
You did. Yes.
And
I'm fascinated by what happens next.
So you're not, because sometime in this week I'm going to watch the extended edition of Return of the King, unless you find that fascinating. And here's why. I won't go so far as to say, Phil and Second Breakfast Nation, that I am no longer living like a hobo, because I mean, let's be honest, it's kind of my thing now.
Because there's a big blank wall behind you, and you're sitting on the floor. So
It's true. But I do now have my surround sound and my entertainment center and all of my stuff.
Andy, glorious.
Yes.
And you decided to christen it with Lord of the Rings.
I did.
Well done, you.
Yeah.
This has been, so far we've been on the air for 5 minutes, and it's been like 5 minutes of solid calls from Andy Roth.
I do my best.
Just knocking today out of the park is what you're doing.
You know, Phil, I try. I do try. It's the metaphysical centeredness that I get from being on an existential level. So,
Dig it.
that's my week. Phil, hit me. What'd you see?
Beautiful. I also saw 5 movies this week, Andy Roth.
Okay, hit me.
I went last week, or since last we spoke, to a double feature
Ooh.
at the New Beverly Cinema. The New Beverly Cinema is a theater, a movie house in Los Angeles that recently, it's been around since I've been in LA, since before I was in LA, but recently was purchased by Quentin Tarantino to keep it alive. And he said, as long as I'm alive and as long as I'm rich, they will be showing 35 millimeter in Los Angeles.
Awesome.
And I love, by the way, I love when rich people acknowledge that they're rich and don't call it something else. They're just like, so I'm rich, right?
Right.
And then just say that.
Yes.
They did a Sterling Hayden double feature.
Nice.
So I saw Asphalt Jungle, which was directed by John Huston.
Nice.
And then I saw The Killing, which is directed by a young Stanley Kubrick.
Nice.
And both of them have the same moral, which is essentially crime doesn't pay. I was seeing the movie with one of my dearest friends in the world, Wes, who looked over at me at the end of the first one and went, "Crime doesn't pay." And he was right, but oh, so much more right in the second film. Actually, both films. It's just like, oh,
right.
So
he was just right for a second time.
So I guess what we're getting at here is crime doesn't pay.
Crime
Got it. Okay.
does not
Got
pay.
it.
Okay.
No, never does it. If you don't know who Sterling Hayden is, you might recollect him as the corrupt police officer in Godfather that gets shot in the restaurant.
Nice.
Well
done there.
But otherwise, he's a sort. I guess he's a leading man. But
sure.
Dang, but he looks like a character actor to me.
The first movie I saw him in,
yeah,
Dr. Strangelove.
That's right. He's in Dr. Strangelove as well.
He is the general who is concerned about our precious bodily fluids.
Our precious bodily fluids.
Yes.
He is a special actor.
Yes.
But an interesting guy, not typical by any stretch of the imagination. Certainly not your typical leading man, even though he cut quite a figure back in the day.
It's true. Not an ugly man.
Andy, if I told you, what if I was to tell you? Picture this.
I'm picturing.
A movie starring Jim Sturgis,
Yeah.
Ed Harris,
Yeah.
Saoirse Ronan,
Okay.
and Michael Strong. Is that his name or is it Mark Strong? It's Mark Strong.
Mark Strong.
Okay? Directed by Peter Weir. You're in, right?
I'm in.
Except this movie has existed for 3 years and none of us have seen it. It's a movie called The Way Back. Not The Way Back, The Way Back. It's based on a book called, I believe, either The Walk Home or The Long Walk or something like that. And it is a book about a true story about a man and a group of people who escaped from a Siberian gulag.
I remember this movie.
Walked to India. Now, if you're wondering why a movie by one of arguably the greatest filmmakers of our time, starring some of the best actors of our time, oh, you know who else was in it? Colin Farrell is in it.
Wow.
Jim Sturgis, Colin Farrell, Saoirse Ronan, Ed Harris, and Mark Strong. And most people have not heard of this movie,
right?
And nobody has seen it.
No one. 0 people.
It turns out it wasn't a great movie.
That's weird.
But
I could not have called that.
I read the book. I love Peter Weir. It was not a bad movie by any means.
Okay.
And this is going to sound weird to you.
Okay.
It needed to be a great movie.
Okay.
And it wasn't.
I can see that.
In the words of one of our old teachers, it wanted to be better. We used to laugh so much when he would say it wants to be better, but that means something. It means there's something here that is aching to get out.
Yes.
And the story wanted to be better, and the actors were great, and the filming was beautiful, and the direction was fine, and it just, in the end, I didn't care.
Sure.
And you want to care.
No, that's really well said, and that is I believe I was there for the moment that Tony said that, and while we certainly drove it into the ground with "it wants to be better," what he actually said, which actually is extremely apt for what you're talking about, it wants to be more perfect.
Interesting.
And
Yeah.
I'm saying this half because, he's no longer with us. And
Right, so we can make fun of him. Oh.
yeah, sure. Yeah, sure. I mean, yes, that is factually accurate, but also because we talk a lot about perfection on this show, and how perfection for us isn't actually an objective thing.
No. Right. Or
You know?
or rather, it's using a different metric than we normally use.
Yes. Fair.
Speaking, and by the way, we're going to get to that in my one big thing. We're going to talk about perfection in my one big thing.
Can't wait.
But so the way back, good, not great. I would not tell people not to see it. I wouldn't be like, don't see this. It's just okay. Like if you got the time.
Right. I'm with you.
And I'm finding increasingly that I don't have the time. Is really the reality.
What's that like? Totes.
Then of course I watched the movie Clue. Wonder if we'll be talking about that later this week. Spoiler. We will. And then, Andy, it was my pleasure and your deep wound that I was able to see today Short Term 12.
Ah! I am so jealous.
Easily, and I say easily, my favorite movie I've seen so far this year.
More than Mud.
Yes. Well, it's between those two. Let me put it this way. I was watching it going, why do other people make movies?
Awesome.
It just made me, and Mud made me feel that way too. So this is why we don't do the whole this one was better than that.
Right. Yes. No,
Those two movies right now are so far and above everything else I've seen this year.
Sure.
Like my third would probably be The Way Back.
Yeah. Okay.
And it is a distant third compared to those two movies.
Okay.
This movie is, or Spectacular Now is on my list.
Yep.
This movie is ladies and gentlemen. There is, I don't know who the guy who wrote and directed it is. I'm gonna go look him up. I'm gonna figure it all out. I don't know any of that stuff. I gotta figure that all out when we're done with this show. You're gonna watch this movie. We're gonna talk about it a lot. All I will say is, I'm not sure there is anyone around in movies today that is like Brie Larson.
Fantastic. Wait. I don't even know, and I've seen the trailer for this movie. I don't even know what genre this movie is. I don't want to know. I was
gonna say, don't worry. I've seen it, and I'm not sure.
Wow. Okay.
No, I mean that's not true. I know what genre it is, but it's the best kind of movie. It's the best kind of movie. That's the genre.
Oh my God, I'm so excited.
It is. Brie Larson is. Again, I mean, I don't believe in giving awards for artistic achievement. Give this movie 17. Give this movie 17 Oscars.
Wow.
It's just.
Okay.
It's just. I loved it, and I would. My wife and I might be going out tonight, and it's possible. It's possible. It's not given. It's possible we'll go see that movie, and I will see it twice in a day. First time I've seen a movie twice in a day since Lord of the Rings.
Nice. Well done.
So, yes. I don't know if we will, but oh my gosh.
Wow. Okay. I am jealous. It's true.
But listen, I don't want to talk the movie up too much. I'm kidding. I'm
Nice.
a little nervous of what I just did. But
I don't know why.
if someone else doesn't like it, fine. I'm just
Right.
telling you what it did to me.
Sure.
And I would love, and before this, I thought Brie Larson was fine. What did we see her in recently, Andy? She was in Spectacular Now.
Yeah. Yep.
She was fine. I was like, oh, Brie Larson, cool.
Sure.
But now I'm like, I want to officially see everything she's in right now, starting now.
Nice.
I am now a huge, and I can't wait to see it with you because I want to know if you think there's anyone else who could do what she did in this movie.
Okay.
Okay, that's all I'll say about that.
Here's what I'll say about that. Is that? Oh wait, is that your last movie? Is that?
Yeah, that's 5. So
Okay.
we're tied.
I might be driving to Winston-Salem to see it on October 4th because that's how much I want to see it.
Also, Winston-Salem is a lovely city.
I don't know. October 4th might be reserved for IMAX 3D of Gravity. That might be what's happening on October 4th. I'm just saying.
Oh man, they're suckering you into the 3D thing.
No, it's Alfonso Cuarón. But like,
that doesn't listen. I'm not there with him yet. I think Children of Men was a spectacular film.
okay.
But I haven't seen, what did he make? E Tu Mama Tambien. I haven't seen that.
It's really good.
I believe you.
Sure.
I'm not saying he's not amazing. I'm just saying, right now I'm one movie into his career. I mean, I guess Prisoner of Azkaban, but we already talked about that. Like, okay, fine.
You're right.
So, but I don't get me wrong. I am going to see the movie. I'm just like Hugo was Martin Scorsese.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And I saw it in 3D because I was like, well, if anyone's going to do 3D right, it's going to be Martin Scorsese. I hated watching that movie in 3D.
Did you? The
capital H. I saw it again on 2D. Okay.
I actually loved it.
Maybe I just had bad glasses.
It's very possible. I mean, it's possible. There's so much with 3D because the theaters. This is actually something that Roger Ebert was big on. Theaters think they can save money by dimming the lights so that the light bulbs will last longer and they will save money that way. And I'm like, you don't understand electricity.
Right.
And and Ebert was like, you don't understand electricity. But in the meantime, while you're not understanding electricity, everything is dim.
You're also ruining movies. Right.
Right. And when you've got 3D, which by necessity makes things dimmer anyway, it's like, really? Really? So
yeah, I'm going to go ahead and say it. I'm not going to go see that movie. I'm going to put my foot down. I'm not going to see that movie in 3D. At least not first. At least not first.
Okay.
I'm not saying I'll never see it in 3D.
Okay.
I'm saying at least not first.
All right.
I'm really done seeing movies in 3D if I can help it.
I understand.
And the problem, as you've said, is you want to see it IMAX.
Here is what I need you to understand. I'm not sure I disagree with you on that point. But this movie in particular, I love Cuarón. I love the fact, 3D in space. I mean...
I know.
Like, it just makes sense.
That's how they get you.
Yes, by making an amazing movie that people can't stop glowing about.
That's right.
That's right. That's how they get you.
It's a trick. Get an X. That's it.
There you go.
It's a trick. Okay. So, anyways, Gravity, tell me, Andy, by the way, is it true? I heard a rumor.
Okay.
Is it true that you have more than one big thing today?
I do.
Oh my gosh!
Before we get to any of the three big things we have between the two of us.
Oh my gosh! Okay.
We have a mean of 1.5 big things between the two of us today. See what I did there? Next week, folks, you may recall, Second Breakfast Nation, Phil and I have spent what seems like our entire lives watching all of the works of Mel Gibson in what we call Project Melway.
Well said.
Next week, we will be doing what we have affectionately termed the Melgies. Okay? These are the awards. These are Project Melway awards, and we'll hit things like favorite movie and favorite Mel performance maybe, and favorite performance by a Mel co-star and all that stuff. Best directed movie, all that jazz. But we want a lot of categories because let's be honest, the Oscars are really bloated, and there's no reason we shouldn't be bloated too.
It's true.
So we have one fan submitted category, and we love it. It's the best Mel cry, right? Yep. Be creative.
Great question.
Be creative. Send your Mel G categories. I posted this on Facebook. Don't worry about nominating because, no offense, guys, but unless you have watched all of Mel Gibson's movies, we're more qualified than you are. We just are.
In the words of Al Pacino in his terrible performance in Heat, don't waste my mother bleeping time.
Indeed.
I agree. Don't tell us how to run our show. That being said, if you have never contributed to the podcast before, ladies and gentlemen, may I submit to you, now is the time.
It's true.
There is no time like the present.
So true.
Okay, Mel Gibson, Mel G Awards. Please give us your proposed categories for Mel G Awards.
Yes,
and we are going to have a Mel Gibson, a Mel Stravaganza.
That's Mel Stravaganza.
It's gonna be positively Gibsplosive, and I hope that you all...
A Mel Explosion!
That'd be amazing.
Send your things as you send everything else. Gauntlets, mailbag questions, just lovely little things that you want us to smile about, to secondbreakfastpodcast@gmail.com. secondbreakfastpodcast@gmail.com.
Are there any numbers in that?
Nope, all spelled out as if it were one really, really unwieldy word.
No dots, dashes, or underscores?
None of those.
Secondbreakfastpodcast@gmail.com.
Yes. Okay, let's move on to the three big things.
Why don't you do one of yours, and then I'll do one of mine, and then you'll do your last one.
Excellent. It's a Phil sandwich on Andy bread. I love it.
Arr,
Yes. Okay. And away we go. My first one big thing. You all might know, since you are watching a podcast entitled Second Breakfast Podcast, that Phil and I quite enjoy the Lord of the Rings movies.
What?
Yes. And I'm not going to rehash how utterly transcendent they are now, although it is a struggle not to just talk about them all the time.
It's true.
But I want to shine a light on two performances that I don't think necessarily get enough love. They may have back in the day, I don't quite remember. I did have a podcast then. But the two I want to talk about, and this is just one big thing. I got the other one coming. The characters of Boromir and Pippin are frankly underwritten in the books.
Interesting.
Here's the dirty little secret. J.R.R. Tolkien, not really an author. He's a good storyteller, right? He is a great storyteller. But he's not, like, in terms of his, it's like John Grisham. He weaves a good yarn, but you wouldn't hold him up to an English class as a way to write a coherent story. And Boromir and Pippin, played by Sean Bean and Billy Boyd, they are so good in these movies. And I feel like, so when I first saw them, if I had a complaint about the movies, and I didn't really, and I'm not just saying that, I really didn't have a complaint about the movies. But if I did, I was like, man, Boromir is a really good guy. And I didn't quite get that from Fellowship of the Ring. And here's the deal. That was on me. Everything is there in Sean Bean's performance. He is, and since I'm watching yes?
I just want to say what you're about to say, which is I don't think that's on you, because I think the extended edition and then what you learn about him in Two Towers, extended edition as well,
Yep.
really helps you see
That's fair.
How I mean, and you're right, Sean Bean's performance is all there, but I'm not sure. I haven't watched the theatrical edition in so long.
Me neither. Yeah,
I'm not sure that's the case.
That's fair. And if I were a director and I had to let some characterization go, it would be Boromir's, I'm not actually a jerk. So that makes sense to me. But it's no secret, folks, that A, we love Lord of the Rings, and B, we love the extended editions more than we love the theatrical editions. That's just, why? If I'm investing 9+ hours, I'll invest 11+ hours. You know what I mean? So, yeah. And the other thing, and this is something small, that really sort of opened up a lot of what Billy Boyd was doing. And I don't know why I didn't see this before. It's such an emotional moment that I guess I wasn't focusing on any one thing. I was just sort of taking it in holistically. When Gandalf falls, spoiler, and everybody thinks he's dead, spoiler, and they're sitting outside, and Frodo is just wandering around, and it's just the worst, and I'm going to start crying because it is just devastating.
Boromir's moment in that scene is just...
Give them
a moment for pity's sake.
And Aragorn, and here's the deal, he's totally right. But Aragorn is also right, and he's like, we gots to go.
Right.
Orcs will be here at nightfall, and it is not dawn, so we need to go. But they're all in sort of various states of disarray. And Pippin is absolutely unglued. And I wasn't sure why that was. I just thought, he's just an emotional hobbit. But that's not it. If I would wish one thing for if I had one Christmas wish, it would be all the children of the world. No.
Right. Could join hands.
Yes. First, the crap about the kids. Okay.
Nice.
Old Saturday Night Live, folks. Look it up. It's amazing.
If you don't know what it is, get it together.
Oh, man.
Steve Martin.
Oh, man. If I had one Christmas wish for Gandalf's personality, it would be maybe ease up on Pippin a little, dude. Just maybe ease up, right? And And he makes up for it in Return of the King, where they're talking, and he describes what heaven is like. But still,
No, I'm with you.
yeah. But in Balin's tomb, before everything goes to hell, the reason it goes to hell is Pippin is screwing around, and he pulls the arrow, or he jostles the arrow, and the armored skeleton falls into the well and makes literally all of the noise in the world. And that's when and Gandalf is like, "Fool of a Took, throw yourself in next time and spare us."
Right.
And it is a direct line from that to Gandalf no longer being there, and it is
right.
Unbelievable, devastating guilt. And I don't know why I didn't see it before, but it is plain on the as the nose on Billy Boyd's face.
Yep.
And it's beautiful in its heartbreaking nature. It is absolutely gorgeous.
Billy Boyd. When I saw that, what's the name of the other one? What's Mary's name in real life?
Monaghan.
If I had to guess which one of those was going to have a career after Lord of the Rings, I would have said Billy Boyd.
Sure. Yes.
And it's nothing against Dominic Monaghan.
Right.
He's so particular looking, and Billy Boyd I thought was going to, and then he was in Master and Commander Far Side of the World almost immediately after that, and I was like, well, there you go. It begins. And then Dominic Monaghan was on Lost, and that's that.
And you're done.
That's that, Mattress Man.
Yes.
So, yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is, I like that. I like that you brought that up. I mean, and you're right, because, by the way, this is one of those things that it takes watching it as many times as we've watched it to get to that point.
Yeah.
because they're not the most important characters.
Agreed. Yes.
And they are, and I really do think no matter how many, like you and I've seen the extended editions multiple times.
It's true.
But dude, I saw the Fellowship of the Ring 6 times in the theaters, or just 4, either 4 or 6. I forget which.
Okay.
And my point being, my image of Boromir was created. Like it was set in stone.
Yes.
And so it takes time to sort of let that seep out, and like actually figure it out. And same with the hobbits. Like there's so much focus on Sam and Frodo that it takes time to get to know Merry and Pip.
Yeah. That's true.
But you're right. At least Pip has that stuff with Gandalf at the in the third movie.
Yeah.
But even then, he's just such a disaster on some level.
It's true. Because you got the whole thing with the Seeing Stone, the Palantir, and man,
that's what I was thinking. It's like, dude, come on,
right? Just hands at your side.
Keep your hands. Stop touching things. Just in general, hands in pockets.
Maybe I can't be too mad at Gandalf. Right? Maybe I can't be. You know what I mean?
I have, it's something that you brought it up. If I had one Christmas wish, I wish Gandalf would ease up. One of the things that I've always been taken with, both in the books and in the movie about Gandalf, but I think Ian McKellen does a great job with this, is how wizards, and when you think about it, there's a level that well, I'm not going to talk about that right now. I'll just stick with Gandalf. That there is a rough and tumbleness to wizards, and that wizards, just because they are magical, and at times interested in whimsy, they're not whimsical creatures. He may make fireworks, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But there is a short-temperedness. Like, he makes the joke the very first time you see him in the very first Lord of the Rings, where the first thing he says is like, a wizard is never late or early. He shows up exactly when he means to. And then they start laughing, but there's a moment when they don't laugh, and I think it's because Gandalf was completely capable of saying that and meaning it.
You're right. Yes.
And there's a part of me that thinks he meant it when he said it. Like, we may joke about this, but I actually am this kind of guy. Sure. So it's like there's times when you and I joke about, like, I'll make a joke that's like about how cranky I am. But part of the reason that's funny to you and I is because I'm really cranky. And so I actually think that's another reason why I like Gandalf and relate to Gandalf as a character, is that
because so far you are immortal and magical?
Well, I have lived 300 lives of men, and
Now
first
I
of
have
all,
no time.
and that's sort of how there was a joke about me at my seminary about how old I was, and so I have a friend who's just basically like, well, Phil's thousands of years old, and so one of our jokes would be like, how old are you? And I go, this time around.
Nice.
You know,
Nice. Well played.
and so and I've always talked about being 300 lives of men. So yes, I'm 34 in this iteration.
Nice.
But so anyway, Gandalf and I have a lot in common. But one of them is just like there's that level of like edginess to him, and he just doesn't. He's like, yeah, you'd like him to be nicer. We all would because he's such a great guy that we also want him to be gentle.
Right.
And there's a roughness to him that comes out against Pippin. And Boromir is just. You see how he's his father's son.
Yeah. Yes.
But you also see how he's his father's son and would not so much like to be his father's son.
Right. You also
that's
see.
yeah.
I apologize for interrupting, but in
No,
the extended edition portions of Two Towers, you see how he's also Faramir's brother.
Yeah. And you wonder what his mother was like. You know?
Right. Yes.
So anyways, that's a whole other thing.
Right.
Although it just got so nerdy up in here.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I know, right? If you're not ready for that, then I don't even know why you're watching or listening to this show. I always apologize for this, and it's like, no, this is who we are.
Don't apologize for it.
I
one big thing.
want to.
You could.
No,
keep
one
talking
big
about
thing.
it, but, yeah.
One big thing. I want to talk about my favorite monologue. A candidate for my favorite monologue of all time.
Okay. Wow.
I turned on. It goes along with my. It actually is a kindred spirit with my one big thing from last week,
Okay.
which is turning on a movie halfway through.
Okay.
There were two movies that I watched the last 45 minutes of to an hour of this week.
Okay.
Friday Night Lights, the movie,
Nice.
inspired by the book.
I love what
book-
you just did. That is
The book
beautiful.
that inspired a movie that inspired a TV series that in turn inspired a book. And now Peter Berg is talking about how he wants to make a movie. No, Peter Berg, you already made a movie. Relax. Go make Battleship 2. Go make Hungry Hungry Hippos the movie. Stop messing.
Go make Lone Survivor 2, the other guy who survives.
Electric Boogaloo. Right.
Yes.
Anyways, and Billy Bob, and as much as we love Kyle Chandler, and he is Coach Taylor forever and ever,
Mm-hmm.
and as much as Friday Night Lights is one of the greatest shows of all time, I wouldn't want people to forget about Billy Bob Thornton in this movie.
He is wonderful.
Billy Bob Thornton's performance is one of my favorite performances, and his halftime speech is not just my favorite speech I've ever seen from any sport movie. It is one of my favorite speeches I've ever seen ever in my entire life, and it makes me want to be a better person.
I love it.
And it's all about being perfect. And he doesn't say clear eyes, full hearts can't lose, which is in the TV show.
right.
But he does say clear eyes and a heart filled with love. And
And then he's like,
clear
"My heart
eyes.
is
He
full."
says, clear eyes. He says, with clear eyes, can you look at someone with clear eyes and love in your heart? And if you can look at them with clear eyes and love in your heart, then you're perfect. And that's like a tiny little bit of it. And at the
Right.
end, and then he goes, gentlemen, my heart is full. It's full. And I was like I watched it twice in a row, and then I pulled it up on YouTube and watched it again. And I mean, I will say, if you don't have if you're not smart enough to watch the movie, let me just say that's on you. But just the same, cue up Friday Night Lights movie halftime speech. I'm not even mad at you. I'm not even mad at you. Just do it. Because it loses nothing in the translation.
Yeah.
And then you'll watch the movie because it'll make you want to watch the movie, and then you'll watch the movie, and guess what? It's amazing.
Yeah.
One of the greatest endings, and that speech is just.
Yes.
And it's all about perfection. Andy and I talk about perfection a lot, and I think it is the best use, or it's the best exposition of my approach to the word perfect.
Nice. Well played.
And this is a problem for me. Have we talked about my problem with perfection? before?
No.
I sat with a priest once and was talking to him.
Are you like Gary King in The World's End? You're never wrong.
How
is that a problem?
No, it's not that. It's great that I'm never wrong, right? No, it's that. Although some people would say yes, that's Phil's problem. No, I don't think that's my problem. I think I'm wrong a lot. I may not admit it, but I think it.
Right. I just totally interrupted you. You were sitting with a priest. I apologize.
No, it's totally fine. And I was talking about I was hounded. I felt hounded, spiritually hounded. There is a point where Jesus is talking in the Gospel according to Matthew, and he says, "Therefore be perfect, like your Father in heaven is perfect." And I'm like, "Oh, dude, come on!" Like, that's
Setting
not
the bar a little high, aren't you?
Yeah. And that's messed up. Like when he said, "Oh, dude, that's messed up," and I was confessing. I wasn't in a confession, but I was confessing to this person who was a spiritual advisor of mine that in fact this hounded me. That it's a completely unfair request. And he just looked at me and he just took pity on me. And was like, "Oh, Phil, like, I'm sorry that you've read it that way. Like, maybe this will help you." And he basically says that Jesus, that comes on the heels of Jesus talking about how to love people. And he's talking about love and how God loves you. And then basically says, be perfect the way your Father in heaven is perfect. In other words, like, be perfect means to love unrelentingly.
Nice. Okay.
So perfection but I took it and was like, perfection means without flaw, without problem, without incorrection, inerrant, perfection. And Jesus is like, no, just love relentlessly. Because that's how God is perfect. And I was like, and it just totally blew my mind. Now, doesn't make that easy. Nevertheless, it's something within reason to me now.
Sure.
And my idea of perfection ever since has been colored by that. And so this idea of perfection as wholeheartedness, giving yourself completely to something. And so when we talk about a movie or a song or artistic expression being perfect, short term 12, this is a perfect movie. And does it mean that there's never been a movie better? No, there's no better or worse. It fully lives into what it's supposed to be.
It is, again, I feel
wholehearted.
I feel compelled to bring in, because otherwise I will have wasted my high school career. The Latin root of perfection does not mean best. It means complete.
Right.
It means finished.
Are you ready? Are you ready to have your mind blown?
Probably
you probably
not.
already knew this. You probably already knew this because you took Latin. The word courage comes because the word cur in Latin is heart. It comes from the term meaning wholehearted. So to have courage,
that's right.
To have courage is to take heart.
Yes.
Which is ridiculous that we don't pay attention to that in our world.
Well,
so
when you consider what we've done to the word awesome, and I'm complicit in that, you know what I mean?
Or brilliant or genius.
Yes.
So.
Or, totes. Man.
Magoats. Totes magoats.
If Shakespeare could have seen what we've done to totes magoats,
I don't feel bad about that. I try to use totes magoats in the way that Shakespeare intended.
Yeah,
and
that's
and to be fair, Shakespeare just made words up all the time. One thing, like Shakespeare was ridiculous and dirty and lowbrow quite often. And so, I don't know how he'd feel about totes magoats, but here's another thing. I don't care. So that works out for me tremendously.
You're absolutely right. I agree with that. And everything you just said makes me it renews my anger at the way people are taught Shakespeare. It just makes me angry again.
The way you are angry about the way people are taught Shakespeare is the way that I'm angry about the way people are taught the Bible.
I have no problem believing
right.
That. I have no problem believing
read, memorize, and obey.
Right.
What? It just infuriates me. Anyways, okay. So that being said, the other thing I wanted to say. That was not my original one big thing, but I had to say it anyway. And this is a very small one big thing.
I love it.
The other movie that I watched the second half of.
Yeah.
Midnight Run, which is a perfect movie.
Yes.
Which is one of the few movies that grows in esteem every single time I watch it.
It does get better every time.
Which is one of those movies that I feel like, and I don't know, because who knows, I feel like 20, 30 years from now, people are going to be going, one of the best movies of the 80s. Like, it's just going to be an official, accepted thing.
Yeah. Yes.
And we talked, it reminded me of it's one of De Niro's best performances.
Yes.
But it reminded me of why De Niro, why I always had a personal connection with Nicholson and not De Niro.
Okay.
You ready? Because we talked about Nicholson last week. You should watch our podcast where we talk about Jack Nicholson last week. And I mentioned that Jack Nicholson is my favorite actor of all time.
Okay.
Does it mean he's the best? Look back to our conversation from 30 seconds ago, people. But De Niro is perfect in so many movies. But the thing about De Niro's characters, and this is not a complaint about him at all.
Yeah.
De Niro plays characters that are aloof.
Yep.
There's always a barrier between De Niro's internal, like his character's inner life and whatever's going on the surface. He's always having an inner monologue.
Right.
In fact, I've never seen him play a dumb person. Maybe he has, and I haven't. No, I can't think of him playing a dumb person. I think in Stanley and Iris he plays an uneducated person or an illiterate person, but I haven't seen it, and I don't know if he's dumb or simple-minded.
Right.
I don't know.
Right.
But there's always so much behind the eyes in De Niro. And Nicholson
is an exposed nerve.
It's just that's it. It's all out. And I love him for that because of me. I can't. The same reason I love Gandalf is like because what I see of myself in him, and what I'd like to see of myself in him that I don't see. Right? Is that same thing? But there's always the characters that you look up to. I think have just enough of you in them that you can see yourself in them, and then they do things that you go, Like obviously, I can't stand down a Balrog like Gandalf did. Yet, I haven't reached my 400th year of life of man, so you never know. But Nicholson has these moments where he says things that I haven't said, but I often am an exposed nerve, and quite often I am a person where it's just like, gee, Phil, why don't you say what you really think? Oh, right.
Yeah, I mean, there are so many. I feel that way. I'm certain that everyone feels that way occasionally. But that is not to devalue what you're saying. That's to support it. But I mean, it's unbelievable to me. Like, I marvel at what's his name in Midnight Run? What's the character's name?
De Niro's character, yeah. Jack Walsh. Jack Walsh.
I marvel at Jack Walsh and Travis Bickle, and Vito and
Jake LaMotta.
Yes, I marvel at them.
Yeah,
and this is no
Jimmy and Goodfellas.
Right. This is not a good or bad thing. If anything, it's shading towards bad. But I don't identify with any of them, and I identify uncomfortably with McMurphy, with Bobby Dupuy. Oh my God!
Yep.
Whole years of my life, I am Bobby Dupuy.
Right.
Looking back on them, you know.
Right.
And which is just such an indictment of the way I have progressed to this point in my life. I can't even stand it.
Although it may mean that you get the ladies, so no worries.
Yeah, those aren't the years.
Oh, sorry, my bad.
Even Melvin Udall. You know, like
yes,
like again,
and Schmidt, and about Schmidt.
Yes,
and I'm not even retired. He's like,
that's right. It sounds like we're insulting, and of course we're not. But like it's just it.
No, it's a matter of personal.
It's the factor that it's the aloofness that De Niro is glorious at.
Yep.
Doing at saying, you know what, there's more going on, there's an inner life here, and it isn't that Nicholson doesn't have that inner life in his characters, it's that many of his characters have such a force of personality that it's like, all right, inner life, I dare you to think about it while I'm all up in your grill.
Yeah, and I think Nicholson is more entertaining quite often, which is not a knock on him at all.
Right. Yes.
Or on either of them.
Right.
De Niro is like engrossing, and Nicholson is entertaining.
Yes.
And both are amazing.
It's true.
Have they ever been in a movie together? They haven't, right?
I don't know. I don't think so.
And now it's probably too late.
Right.
Ho hum.
Even if it isn't. It is.
I know.
You know.
I know. Well, we'll see.
It's true. I love your one big thing and one small thing.
Thank you. All right. You got one more big thing, and then I think we might be wrapping it up.
It's true. My second and last one big thing, 2 words. Bruno Kirby.
Oh,
I know.
Kirby.
He is the guy. He is the guy that you don't notice in a movie that makes it perfect. I cannot believe the same guy is. I just saw it and I already don't remember his name in City Slickers.
Yep.
Jess in When Harry Met Sally.
Yep.
Clemenza.
Yep.
And whoever
Godfather Part 2.
Yes, and whoever he's playing that is totally the ape of Clemenza in The Freshman, which is just a brilliant send-up of his own. It is no less brilliant a send-up of his own performance than Marlon Brando's is in that movie.
You're right. You are correct, sir.
He is the mortar that holds these movies together. I dare you to... City Slickers is nothing but fun. It is an hour and 45 minutes of, hello, brother, let me lift those cares off your shoulder. And that's it, right? And yet, I dare you to look away when he is talking about his worst and best day. Which is,
in my opinion, the most poignant part of the entire movie.
Yes.
Actually, for me.
Yes.
And the part of the movie that I think about most often.
Yep.
Like the idea of your worst day and your best day being the same day. I have thought about that just constantly. I think about it constantly.
Yes.
I think about that. I think about the day of my dad's death. And I think that in many ways, it sounds crazy to call it my best day because it wasn't, except that there were things about it that I don't know what else to call them. I mean, there was things about it that were so special.
Yeah.
That I'll never forget.
Yeah.
That I wouldn't call it my best day, but I could see how he might. I get what he means by it.
Yes. Yes.
You know?
Yes.
I get what he means by it. And yeah, that and this is John Lovitz's performance in City Slickers 2 is very funny to me. I really enjoy it.
Uh-huh.
But and I mean, there's a billion things wrong with City Slickers 2, but you cannot get over Bruno Kirby's loss, actually, in City Slickers 2.
I've never seen City Slickers 2.
Oh, well, I mean, I don't know, see it? I mean,
sure.
Don't.
Sure.
There's some good stuff with John Lovitz in it, but other than that, I mean,
I find that very easy to believe.
But I mean, it's one of those things where it's like John Lovitz is doing what John Lovitz does best.
Sure.
And
the way it works is the train works, not
I mean,
the
he's
station.
got stuff like that.
Right.
He goes, he has some moments like that I won't spoil. I mean, I would say watch the first 15 minutes, or just watch his opening sequence in that movie, and you'll be all set with the rest of the movie.
Okay.
But Bruno Kirby, as you said, he gives a gravity in City Slickers, and Bruno Kirby he's a great second man to Billy Crystal. And I want to say, there is a romantic comedy out there, the best romantic comedy of all time, perhaps, where the two main romantic male interests in the film are Billy Crystal and Bruno Kirby.
It's true.
Are you paying attention, America? Do you understand that it doesn't have to be Hottie McHotterton and Boobs McGee? That it can actually be both of them are fine-looking people.
Right. They're not...
Neither of them will be modeling underwear anytime in the future. Well, especially not Bruno Kirby. But I mean, we're never going to at that time.
Right. There is a great unwashed mass between underwear model and mothers avert your baby's eyes.
Right. But I mean...
And you know what? Those people find love too.
But that's my point.
Yes.
That's really my point.
Yes, I know.
Movies have gorgeous people and ugly people. And it's like, there was a time when the two biggest romantic comedy stars were Billy Crystal and Meg Ryan. And Meg Ryan's adorable.
Yes.
But she's adorable, not a bombshell.
Right.
She's
You're
adorable.
right. That's right.
her deal is that she can portray vulnerability and beauty and neurosis and humor all at once, and is cute and attractive and not cute in a diminutive, dismissible way. And likewise, Billy Crystal. I mean, to find Billy Crystal, and then Tom Cruise stepped in. I'm not Tom Cruise. I apologize. Tom Hanks.
Yes.
And again, Tom Hanks is not gorgeous.
Right. You're right. I'll tell you
What's
this.
going on, America?
I'll tell you this. Bruno Kirby as Jess in that movie. You spend like you see Jess, and you see him at like the batting cages, and he's like, I don't get it. You're not sleeping with her. That makes no sense to me, right?
Right.
And he's like the guy who's doing the wave with Harry as he's telling him about the dissolution of his marriage.
Right.
And it's like, what? You are a jerk, and yet, and Marie Carrie Fisher is also just what an unsung wonderful performance.
Right.
She finds out somebody's married, and she doesn't take him out of her man Rolodex. She just earmarks the card, right? That's who you're dealing with, and one of the 872 billion brilliant things about that movie is they are the two mature people in this little square. Yeah. They are the two people who, for better or worse, know themselves enough to love somebody else until the end of the movie.
I love it. I love it.
And that is the kind of thing that Bruno Kirby brought to that role. Because that's not like a fait accompli on the page.
And by the way,
yes.
If you didn't know, I mean, you know, Andy, but if you didn't know why we're talking about Bruno Kirby the way we're talking about him, is that Bruno Kirby died in 2006 from leukemia.
Yes.
And it was just one of those things.
Yep. Just one of those things.
Just gone.
Yes.
And he's not a big enough actor for people to freak out about it.
Right. I feel his loss more now than I did then.
Sure.
And When Harry Met Sally was a much larger part of my day-to-day life then. It affected me.
Sure.
But now
that's the point, is it affected you, and now you look back and you're like, oh.
Yeah.
And he's fantastic in Good Morning Vietnam. He's just...
Oh, and if
hateable.
you do... And if you do...
Do... I have a sense of humor. I'm very funny. Oh, man.
I remember something my dad said to me when we were watching Dirty Dancing. And he said, you have to realize how good of a dancer Jennifer Grey is that she looks so bad at the beginning.
Wow. Well said.
And that is what Bruno Kirby's character in Good Morning Vietnam is. You know, like... You
have to be so good. You have to be funny to be that unfunny.
Yes.
Yeah,
you have to be funny to be that unfunny.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I'm glad you brought him up. And before we go, we had meant to talk for a while about, and we're not going to get into him today, but watching Midnight Run, and Dennis Farina's in that, and he's another one that died recently. I mean, he died recently, like in the last couple months.
Yes.
And he's another one that
not big enough to make the front page.
Find me a bad Dennis Farina performance.
Yeah.
Find me a movie that isn't made better by him.
Yes.
I double dog dare you.
Yes.
And his performance in Midnight Run.
Yes. Perfect Case, Out of Sight. That's a great movie. It's better because he's in it.
He manages to understand how to walk the line between humor and just being terrifying.
Yes.
He has moments in Midnight Run that are hilarious and then turns around and is terrifying.
Yep.
So, Anyway, and we're going to talk more about that. Next episode, we're going to talk, not to give too much away, but next episode, we're going to talk about the movie Clue. Mm-hmm. And I look forward to talking about comedies that scare you.
Nice. Well played.
Or comedies where something is actually at stake. You know?
I like it.
And that's one of the big takeaways for me about Clue. So that's a little preview for next episode.
Yeah. So, folks, have a good week until we see you again. Don't forget to send in your fun Mel G's categories. secondbreakfastpodcast@gmail.com. And we will see you again later this week. For now, we're Second Breakfast. I'm Andy Roth, and that's Phil Duvall. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
The most important meal of the day, second breakfast.